Welcome back for episode 17 of Warhammer 40k Imperium. This will be issue number 17. Battle games in the 41st millennium. 8 new miniatures with this issue. Munitorum armored container, barrels, and crates. Battlefield terrain. Learn about Necron Outcasts. And Psychic Phase playthrough. And in this issue of Imperium comes with yet more highly detailed terrain for you to build, paint, and fight over on the tabletop. You'll also receive a new foldout detailing the territories and backgrounds of the most powerful and nefarious Necron dynasties. Finally, the librarian takes to the battlefield in a thrilling new playthrough with updated rules for his psychic powers. And our lore will be Ultramarines, Injuries and Grudges, Outcasts, Worlds of the Imperium, Myraid Dynasties foldout. Our build guide for the Munitorum armored container, as well as our paint guide for the Munitorum armored container. And the playthrough will be securing the Dropsite. Ultramarines, Injuries and Grudges. In battle after battle, the Space Marines must endure the deadly weapons of their countless foes. Many battle brothers bear scars of past encounters and hold a lingering hatred for the foe that inflicted them. I remember clearly the Necron that took my eye. A towering fiend, its silver body emblazoned with the foul glyphs of its cursed race. I hear the soft hum of the Xenos war scythe, and feel the jolt of pain as it split flesh and skull and drove me to the ground. The Xenos thought me dead for sure. But we are the Adeptus Astartes, and are not so easily slain. I bear this scar with honor, and I embrace the pain it gives me unwillingly. I shall use the lingering agony of my defeat to stoke the fires of my hatred. Should our paths cross once more on the field of battle, it shall be me who is victorious. Brother Marius, Gallardo, Ultramarines, 2nd Company. Vengeful Fury. When Space Marines are engaged in a long campaign against lethal and numerous foes such as the Necron, lasting enmities are quickly established. An Ultramarine would never disobey an order to pursue a personal crusade of vengeance, but may well bear a grudge against a particular enemy, and fight harder and with more fury when engaging such a foe. During the War of the Pariah Nexus, the Ultramarines have suffered many wounds, losses, and humiliations at the hands of the Necrons. Record the grudges and rivalries borne by each Space Marine unit in their battle record. Ultramarine Grudges Generator Table. Okay, we have examples such as bear lingering hatred for, say, Cryptex, wounded by the Necron nobility, stalks flayed ones, focus fire on Knaptic Scarabs, which I would agree with that one. I recently started playing the Warhammer 40k Tacticus. It's a mobile tactics game, and Scarabs are a pain in the ass, and they multiply, so I always want to deal with them first. The body of a Space Marine is designed with resilience and toughness in mind. Our bodies are capable of healing and recovering from terrible trauma. Wounds that would slay mere human outright are little more than an inconvenience to a member of the Adeptus Astartes. Yet I do not know a single battle brother who does not bear at least one terrible scar earned in the thick of battle. As an apothecary, I have seen most of these wounds. from broken bones and lacerations to perforated organs and severed limbs. I have treated all manner of wounds on the field of battle, and the bodies of my battle brothers bear the results of my labor. Brother Morcath, whose ruined arm is removed on Estevar, now bears a bionic replacement. Sergeant Helt's skull was crushed by an orcish power claw and is now reinforced with an adamantine plate. My battle brothers bear these wounds with honor, for they are a grim reminder of their service and sacrifice and devotion to the Emperor's ideals. Brother Carasus, Apothecary, Imperial Fists. In the aftermath of a vicious battle, the Apothecary of the Imperial Fist chapter harvests the gene seed of a fallen battle brother. The genetic material will be used to create a new generation of Space Marines. Hero injuries. Space Marine heroes and commanders lead by example, fighting alongside their troops and engaging the most powerful enemies in combat. Even the greatest of the most skilled Space Marine heroes sport wounds inflicted in the press of battle. Space Marine heroes are called upon to duel mighty foes. A defeat may result in a terrible injury. When a Space Marine hero is destroyed or defeated in a game, record an injury in the battle record. Ultramarine hero injury table. Left leg crushed by a fall, right eye perforated by shrapnel, spine pierced by war scythe, jaw impaled by a blade. It's pretty gruesome injuries. Injuries and losses. Despite their superhuman forms and mighty power armor, Space Marines are not completely impervious to harm. Space Marine squads are constantly at war and are guaranteed to suffer attrition and combat damage during the course of their service. During a battle, your Space Marine squads may suffer combat attrition and grievous wounds. When a unit of Space Marines is destroyed during the game, record the injuries they suffer in their battle record. Ultramarine squad injuries and losses generator table. Maimed by kinetic constructs, hobbled by a full assault of gauss fire, Vox unit destroyed by enemy artillery, partially blinded during a retreat, defeated by anti-personnel mine. Outcasts. Many Necrons are afflicted with madness, yet there are some whose insanity is so fearful and disturbing that they are shunned even by their own kind. Cast out from Necron society, Scorpec destroyers seek only to slaughter the living. There are some sects in Necron society that take to war alongside the legions, but who the nobility have little, if any, command over. Foremost amongst these groups are the destroyer cults. The Necrons have been afflicted by many forms of insanity, but the murderous madness that the destroyers has proven the most widespread and dangerous. The Necrons who become destroyers abandon all hope, desire, and personal ambition, instead falling into a cold pit of hatred that sees them devote themselves to destroying organic life. Destroyers are employed as shock troops, valued for their single-minded determination to slaughter the enemy with no concerns for their personal safety. Their noble commanders do not trust them, however. Not only do they fear the destroyer's madness be infectious, but they wonder who they will turn upon when all organic life has been destroyed. Flayed ones are also feared and reviled by the rest of Necron society. They are afflicted with a terrible death curse of the Catan known as the Landigor the Flare. Twisted in both mind and body, they are drawn to the Sun of Blood, emerging from the cursed netherrealm in which they dwell to fall upon the Necron's foes. The Necron Legion make every attempt to stay far away from the flayed ones as possible, whose madness they fear catching. If they can, however, do little to stop the flayed ones from breaking into reality and joining the battles that are already underway. Flayed ones. Flayed ones are twisted in both mind and body by the Flayer curse. They exist within their own extra-dimensional realm, emerging only to feast on organic flesh. They are able to sense when their Necron kin are at war, and appear unbidden to the slaughter. Feast to take gruesome trophies from the fallen. Of course, as machines, they can never hope to satisfy their eternal hunger. Destroyers. Scorpek Destroyers. Scorpek Destroyers are members of the Destroyer cults with 3 sharply pointed legs and hyperphase blades fitted to their arms. Though their own form may look ungainly, they appear graceful on the battlefield, whirling and parading through the enemy lines and leaving a trail of blood and gore in their wake. They, like all destroyers, are utterly consumed by their hatred of organic life. They rarely respond to orders of the Necron nobles unless they contain a promise of slaughter, but they can be relied upon to butcher the living. Locust Destroyers. Locust Destroyers are Necron immortals or Lichguard who have had their bodies modified to help them annihilate living beings with even greater efficiency. With the aid of the Necron's cryptech engineers, those who become Locust Destroyers are fused to a floating chassis and allow them to traverse the battlefield swiftly. This new form has an added benefit of providing stable weapons platform for which they may fire their gigantic Gauss destructors and Anabdic exterminators with unerring accuracy. Other types of destroyers. There are many forms of Necron destroyers, each of them utterly horrifying. Hexmark destroyers are former Deathmark snipers who now sport 6 arms, each grasping an Anabdic disintegrator pistol. Ophidian destroyers, meanwhile, are more reminiscent of cryptech constructors, with the snake-like mechanical bodies, bladed arms, lethal Ophidian claws, and the ability to phase through solid structures. Worlds of the Imperium, the realm of mankind. Galactic phenomena. Each and every Imperial system is vastly different. Solar winds ripple around the system's binary sun. Hive City. Some of humanity's worlds are home to vast hive cities, each which has a population of billions. Imperial ships. Most worlds rely on the Imperium's trade network to supply them with the essential goods and supplies. The Imperium's territories encompass countless systems, spanning the length and breadth of the galaxy. Even in the most remote, punishing environments, humanity's colonies cling to survival. The Imperium of mankind is a colossal, sprawling, and hopelessly divided domain, so vast that the entire departments of the Adeptus Administratum are devoted to cataloging its worlds. A near impossible task. These worlds and systems are stretched thinly across the galaxy, separated by vast, yawning interstellar voids. Though the true number is unknown, it is believed that there are over 1 million settled worlds in the Imperium. Many of these planets were considered to be were colonized by humanity over 10,000 years ago, long before the Emperor rose to power. Yet more have been settled by the Imperium human colonists in the many millennia since. Astropaths. Products of the Scholastica Psychana. Astropaths are psychic individuals trained how to use their powers to communicate across the interstellar void. They are a common sight on civilized worlds, easily distinguished by by their flowing green robes and sightless, sunken eye sockets. Astropaths often group into astropathic choirs to enhance their powers. Larger and more important imperial worlds have often had astropathic relays. These techno-arcane structures serve to further increase the astropath's psychic might and ensure that their message reaches their destination swiftly. Now, the side here says the Imperium of mankind is as vast as it is glorious. Look upon it with wonder and weep. Types of worlds. The Imperium is comprised of many systems and inhabited worlds. Some of these planets are civilized and populated by humanity's teeming masses. Others are hellish, lethal places, home only to the hardest and most intrepid human colonists. Hive world. Hive worlds are covered in vast hive cities that rise out of the earth and pierce the clouds. A hive city is a self-contained structure filled with polluting factories and cramped inhabitants. Life in the depths. The hive never sleeps. In their gilded spires, the nobility live lives of luxury, wanting for nothing. Beneath them, indentured citizens toil endlessly in the toxic darkness, producing the raw materials upon which the hive world relies. The deeper one dwells, the more miserable their existence. Here in the underhive, there is no light, no law, and no hope. Only the strongest survive. The weak perish, and their malnourished bodies becoming food for the pack of starving sump rats. Rutger Scar, Hive Ganger. Feudal worlds. Feudal worlds do not possess advanced technology. The citizens in these worlds, whether peasants, farmers, or noble lords, have little understanding of the wider Imperium. Feudal Knight. To step foot on a feudal world is step back into humanity's distant past. Having only pre-industrial infrastructure, they rely upon agriculture to feed the populations. Warrior nobles rule while peasants till in the fields, working relentlessly to provide sustenance to their fellow citizens. Feral worlds. Feral worlds are isolated planets whose inhabitants have descended into savagery and live a primitive, violent existence. They are often harsh places and fraught with danger. Scout Report, Feral World, Eskara. Eskara's barren, sun-bleached wastes are almost devoid of water and home to many monstrous beasts. That humanity persists in even such extremes is amazing in itself. The Eskarian tribes lack technology, but do not want for bravery, cunning, or physical strength. The best of them would serve the Adeptus Astrates well. Brother Sergeants Solon Val, Deathwatch. And the foldout, Myriad Dynasties. Aeons ago, the Necron Empire was comprised of interlocking dynasties whose territories spanned the stars. Each of these dynasties has retained elements of their former culture, whilst many of their leaders have been consumed by madness and obsession that shapes their legions. Somewhere deep within the Pariah Nexus, the glittering legions of the Zarkon dynasty stride from their towering monolith to meet the Ultramarines in battle. Zarkon Dynasty. The Zarkon are the dynasty of the last of the Silent Kings, and they possess ancient treasures and terrifying superweapons. They are at the forefront of the Necron expansion, waging war on hundreds of fronts. Many lesser dynasties have pledged their allegiance to the Zarkon and have been absorbed into their ranks. At command of the Overlord, phalanxes and colossal war machines of the Myraid dynasty combine their firepower to drive back a Chaos Marine assault. Myraid dynasty. The Myraid dynasty are infamous for their destructive excess. In the time before the Great Sleep, they used their star-killing weapons to destroy entire systems. They do not seek honor or respect. They only wish to be feared by their rivals. Lichguard and Triarch Praetorians of the Sautek dynasties defend their overlord from the Astra Munitorum assault. Sautek dynasty. The Sautek are among the most numerous and aggressively expansionist of the Necron dynasties. Their leader, Imhotep the Stormlord, seeks to unite the Necrons under the Sautek banner. His forces are just as likely to invade the territories of lesser Necron dynasties as they are of those of other races. Under the watchful eye of the Technomancer, Cryptek Wraiths and Cryptek Spiders scurry from the shadows to fall upon the Thousand Suns Rubric Marines. Crypteks and Kinetic Constructs. The royal courts of most of the Necron dynasties contain Cryptek Viziers and Advisors. Crypteks are masters of Eldritch technology, who are served by armies of mindless Kinetic Constructs, all bound to their will. These constructs inhabit all Necron tomb worlds, serving their dynasties by maintaining their technology and slaughtering any and all invaders. Okay, we'll start over here. Nelika Dynasty. And, it took me forever to get the pronunciation of Zarkon. So these Necron names, I'm probably going to butcher most of them, and probably already have, just so you know. The Nelicon have always been one of the richest Necron dynasties. They have channeled this wealth into creating vast legions armed with the finest of weapons. And they have aligned themselves with the newly returned Silent King to seek nothing short of galactic domination for their people. As Doomsight screamed through the skies above, the impeccable legions of the Novak dynasty descend to sweep aside the Blood Angels' death company. A Novak dynasty. The personality engrams of the Novak dynasty still contain lingering memories of the blood rituals they once undertook in battle. They are afflicted by a desire to butcher their opponents and coat themselves in gore. The Awakening Empire. The ancient dynasties of the Necron races have begun to awaken from their great sleep, and now seek to reconquer what was once theirs. Scattered throughout the galaxy are the slumbering worlds of the ancient Necrons, uh, ignorant of the dormant power beneath their feet, the galaxies of younger races, foremost amongst them humanity. They have built their civilizations on top of Necron tombs. The Imperium has since spread across the stars, striking a claim to countless worlds, all the while unaware that another older power has already laid claim to the territories. Now, after millions of years spent in stasis, the Necron Empire stirs once more. So far, only a small faction of the galaxy's tomb worlds have roused to life, but with each passing year, this number grows. When a single tomb world rises, it begins a chain reaction that causes other nearby systems to awaken. Piece by piece, the vast solar domains of the Necron's great dynasty are carved anew from the burning civilizations and decimated armies of the Necron enemies. Under the arrogant command of vengeful pharaohs and power-hungry overlords, these territories continue to expand. Thankfully for the Imperium, madness and conflicting agendas have thus far prevented the Necron nobles, dynasties from uniting as one and completing their conquest of the galaxy. The return of the Silent King, however, threatens to shatter the status quo. Should Zarek be able to unite the Necron race and bring every one of the quarreling dynasties into the fold, the awakening Necrons may prove utterly unstoppable. Dolmen Gates. Dolmen Gates are living stone portals that act like gates into the webway. The Necrons lack psychers and cannot travel via warp, so Dolmen Gates are essential in order to travel the stars. Tomb Worlds. When the Necron race entered stasis, they did so on countless worlds across the galaxy, often concealing their stasis crypts far beneath the surface. Though many of these tomb worlds remain dormant or have been lost to the ravages of time, others have begun to awaken. With each tomb world that rises, the Necrons recover yet more of their former territory. And here we have a Necron map of the galaxy. This is the Awakening Empire. It is difficult to determine the true astronomic distribution of the Necron dynasty's territories, for their worlds have been strewn across galactic tides and are awakening gradually. Those regions the dynasties lay claim to are clearer, however, and their ranks swell, and their legions march ever outwards. The domain grows more sprawling by the year. And I'm not going to read all these, but here we have all the these are all the various tomb worlds, and right here is Terra and Mars, so that's our solar system. So we're literally surrounded by Necrons. And this gives you a little bit about each of the home worlds. But, let's see, so I'm not gonna get in all their backstories. That, and I can't pronounce half the names. Okay, how to build Munitorum armored container. Okay, and we have the sprue. It is It's a direct copy of the first set we got. And the build is going to be the same. So I'm just going to read all this as a refresher. I'll get it assembled, and I'll come back to do the painting, which is slightly different. Different colors than the last one. So that's a good thing. At least each container will be have its own color scheme. So okay, this guide shows you how to assemble your new Munitorum armored container. Quickly follow this guide, paying close attention to the instructions as you do so. Clipping. When clipping large sections, do not clip directly against the component. Instead, clip closer to the frame and then clip again to remove excess plastic. Using elastic bands. The four sides of the container need to be held together while the glue dries. Elastic bands can be used to hold the components together. Storm bolters. Storm bolter mounts do not need to be glued into position. They can instead be pushed into the holes at either end of the container. When assembling this model, try not to use too much glue. If you do notice any glue beginning to seep or pool across the surface of the model, make sure you wipe it away with a paper towel quickly. Otherwise, it may melt the plastic and obscure details. Okay, one, make sure you dry fit each of these components before applying glue, as it can be a little difficult to align correctly. Don't apply too much glue, as it is likely to spill to the outside of the container when the components are pushed together. Glue the sides into position one at a time, allowing the glue to dry for a few seconds before moving to the next stage. Hold the base and the sides in place and then dry fit the top. When you are confident it is lined up correctly, apply glue and gently push the top of the container into position. Hold the four components into position until the glue dries. Using elastic bands will make this much easier. 3, glue the doors into position and then apply the keypad into place. While you can glue the doors in an open position, it is best to build the container with the doors closed in order to follow this issue's paint guide and playthrough. Now you'll need to assemble the storm bolters atop the container. You'll need to glue both storm bolters to their pintle mounts together first. When the guns and mounts are glued together, they will both slot into the sockets on top of the container without the need to apply any more glue. When pushed into the slots in the container, the storm bolters can be rotated to face different directions. Now you just need to glue the 4 eagle heads into position on the 4 corners of the container. Try not to use too much glue. If glue does spill or pool on the model, wipe it away with a paper towel before it dries. Prometheum barrels. Simply apply glue to half the barrel and push the 2 sections together. Ammunition crates. The ammunition crates require no assembly. Simply clip them from the sprue. And the finished model. You now have 1 fully assembled Munitorum armored container, 3 Prometheum barrels, and 4 ammunition crates. Turn to this issue's paint guide to get them ready to fight on the battlefield. Okay, the models are assembled and primed and ready to be painted. And I've got all my paint ready here. Took the tray from my paint case and got everything I'll be using this issue. McCraig blue, lead belcher, Abaddon black, Corax white, Mechanica standard gray, Retributor armor, Screamer pink, and Agrex earth shade. so that I don't have to keep going back to the box to get new colors. Okay, how to paint Munitorum Armoured Container. This guide shows you how to paint your new Munitorum Armoured Container. Follow the guide carefully, paying close attention to the instructions as you go. Brushes. Use your medium dry brush to base coat the larger surfaces of the Munitorum Armoured Container. Use your starter brush to base coat the smaller barrels and crates. Okay, Screamer Pink Container. Use the medium dry brush to paint the container. If paint begins to pool around the rivets and skulls, brush it away. Okay, so first we need to thin out some Screamer Pink. And using that medium dry brush. And of course, the starter brush for thinning and mixing. And this is a pretty big one, so yeah, I'm gonna do a double batch. So we're gonna have 6 parts paint, 2 parts water. And hopefully it'll be enough. I don't have to mix up more. Paper towel to dry the brushes off. And of course, nothing wants to cooperate with me today. Okay, that out of the way. Move these storm bolters. And I'm going to start with the bottom. And pretty basic, just regular old base coat. Just make sure you might have to go different angles to get it down in all the recesses. Especially these corners here. And pay attention to the lip in that hatch on the top. Well, top and bottom. And again, it's going to get 2 more coats, so if it looks a little thin, that's just fine. So I usually do these, paint them in sections here. And then that way, when I get further down, I don't have to worry so much about paint rubbing off from holding it. It'd also probably be better if you had an airbrush, which I do not. Never really got into airbrushing. But who knows, I might pick that up at some point, we'll see. Because for stuff like this, definitely make the job a lot easier. I don't know why they're still saying to use the Drybrush for basing when we literally have a base brush. Okay, yeah, this is going to be a lot of streamer paint. That, what I just thinned out, almost gone already. Yeah, yeah, gonna be going through a lot of streamer pink today. It's like the Bad and Black, which is almost empty now. That's thanks mostly to the first container, which was all black. Okay, so I'm gonna need to mix up more paint here. So I'm just gonna cut there and come back after this thing's got 3 coats. Okay, the Munitorum Armored container has been base coated in streamer pink. Doesn't look as obnoxious as I thought it was going to, so that's a win. Okay, now we have McCraig Blue. Says apply 3 coats of McCraig Blue to each of the ammunition crates. Allow the paint to dry between coats. Okay, so another pretty simple one. Get the paint shaken up really good. And not going to need nearly as much of this as we did with the streamer pink. Okay. With one of the big ones here. I like to do the sides, let them dry, and then do the top. Or you could get something to prop it up on and just do it all at once. Yeah, I like to make sure I got that inner lip too. What I'll do is I'll do two sides and let them dry. Come back at the other two and then do the top. Okay. So I'll go ahead and get these painted up and then come back. Okay, and the ammunition crates have been base coated in Myraid blue. And next we have a bed in black, Prometheum barrels. Hold one half of the barrel as you paint the other. When the paint is dried, switch your grip and paint the other end. Okay, so let's make up some bed in black here. Get these ammunition crates out of the way. Get our Prometheum barrels. Really need to get to a hobby store and get some more bed in black. Okay, there we go. Paint the top first. And we'll just go around the whole barrel with the bed in black. I'll go down another section here. Paint a little skull there. Okay. And I'll go and finish up these other barrels. And then we'll get back on to the next step. The Prometheum barrels have been base coated with the bed in black. Set those aside for right now. Okay, and now we have how to recess shade. Recess shading is a new technique. Pay careful attention and read the instructions before you begin applying any shade paint to your models. Okay, paint on brush. Collect some shade paint on your brush. The brush should have a fine tip and not be flooded with paint. Recess shading. Run the tip of your brush along the recess of the areas on the container and crates. Brush towards you for control. Refer to the gallery at the end of the guide for help. And then we have the drip effect. With a small amount of shade paint, draw drips on the container. Apply the effect sparingly in areas where oil might drip. Okay, and there is our container. Now, at this point, you're supposed to do the ammunition containers as well, but I'm actually going to wait on those because the way I do these eagles with the gold, I get down the sides of them too, and it gets a lot on the crate itself. So after I finish that, I'll have to go back with McCraig Blue and touch up around the edges. And the eagle, the gold on the eagle does get the same shade. So I'll just do those two at the same time. So let's try this recess shade here. This may be a little big of a brush, but we'll see how it works. These pots never want to stay open for me. So I guess I'll start right here. And you just want to keep your hand as steady as possible. Just go along that lip like that. Ain't too bad. Again, not putting very much shade on here, so. Just basically tracing the outlines. So I've never done recess shading like this. I usually just do a wash where you go over the entire thing. So this is a new technique for me. And it sucks I don't have the steadiest of hands. So this is probably going to be a pretty time-consuming part. That one's a little thick. Okay, and I do want to hit just these bolts here. My hope is to get around the bottom of the bolt, and then when I come back with the dry brush, that it'll just catch the top of that bolt. And then you'll have the shade going around the bottom of it. Actually, I think in these corners here, I'll just glob it in, because it's got to go around the corner here, as well as down the sides of this this cross here. That don't look too horrible. They already did up there. I didn't do the inside of it. I don't know. We'll have to see what it looks like when it dries. Actually, the skull doesn't matter because that's gonna be painted silver. I just don't like how some areas it looks really, really faint. Like you can't even tell it's there. I guess that looks pretty good. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and get this all done up. Maybe I'll add a couple those oil streaks. Actually, let's try one right now. Let's go from up here. Okay, a little drip coming down. That's a little more than I wanted, but yeah. You know, we'll have one running down on the bottom here. This little streak running down. Yeah, don't look too bad. Alright, I'll finish up the shading on that, and we'll get back to the next part. And I've done the recess shading, and it didn't come out too bad. But you clearly see it's darker and thicker in some parts than in others. So, we'll see how that looks at the end. Okay, how to dry brush. You will now dry brush your new model. Make sure the shade paint is dried before you begin, otherwise you may end up with streaks of shade paint across your model. Collect some paint on your medium dry brush, then wipe it vigorously on a paper towel till most of the paint has been removed from the bristles. Corax white dry brush. Using gentle pressure, press the bristles against the container and brush vigorously across the raised detail using circular motions. Alright. We'll try it their way. Gotta thin down some Corax white. There we go. That medium dry brush. Alright. Let's start on the map. I'm still a little wet. There we go. I'm just doing those circular motions, applying slight pressure, but not too much. You don't want to cover up the Screamer pink, but you do want to get it on those nice sharp edges there. You want to hit those corners. Any sharp edges. Okay, actually, okay. I'm convinced that came out pretty good. I think when I did it last time, I just had too much paint on the brush. Oh, yeah, got too much there, definitely. There. Now you can see as I get rid of some paint, how much better it comes out. Alright. Damn it. Okay, that takes a little getting used to. It's still coming out a little too white for my liking. It's not too bad. I want to catch the very peaks of those vents. So I think with the doing those circular motions, I think it gets more paint onto it. You know, specifically where you don't want it to be. And again, maybe I'm just doing a very bad job of it. I will let you be the judge. It just kind of looks like a kind of a chalky finish. But I have done worse dry brushing jobs, so. I don't think that looks too bad. Better on the other side. I'm gonna just go around the whole perimeter of the outside door. Get a nice crisp outline. Okay. I guess that looks fine. Okay, and I get the bottom. Even though no one's ever going to see the bottom. Okay, now just gotta get the store here. And again, this sharp edge. Make sure you get these along the eagle heads. Okay, I think that's it. Kind of screwed up a little bit there, but oh well. Alright, that looks good to me. So it just looks like a little dusty. So the dry brushing is done. I don't know how well you can see that here, except on the top where I used way too much paint. See, like right there, it's pretty subtle, which is kind of what you want. You don't want a bunch of paint built up like that. That looks horrible. But that's the dry brushing for the container. And next we have Mechanicus Standard Gray Dry Brush. Run the brush along the edges of the Promethean barrels, brushing in the direction of the raised edges to ensure the flat areas are not touched. Okay, so basically we're doing the same thing, but with the Promethean barrels and Mechanicus Standard Gray. I think I might have to swap my palette out here. It's getting pretty full. Ooh, that needs checked. It's starting to separate pretty bad. Okay, let's see. There we go. Much better. Okay. Just rub it into the napkin. Make sure I get most of it off. And that's getting on the barrel. Now let's just I think that's a much better technique. There we go. Oop. I get the bottom of it. There we go. Yeah, because going with it, I was getting it on the barrel, so I'm just going to go across it. Okay, those look pretty good. You can see we've dry brushed on the Mechanicus Standard Gray, and you can barely tell that it's on there. Okay, now we also have Mechanicus Standard Gray on the container. It says Stipple. Collect some paint on on your palette or painting surface and load the bristles of your medium dry brush with a small amount of paint. Using a prodding motion, push the brush back and forth against the palette. You should get a scratchy, uneven finish. Repeat this motion several times to remove some of the paint from your brush before stippling the container. Using the same prodding motion, apply the technique to the container. Focus on the bottom half, as this area would naturally have more dirt and scratches. Okay. So, let's see how that works out. Not too much. Way too heavy on that side. Put some on the legs here. So that's kind of what we're going for there. I'm going to put a little up, coming up into the actual container. That's right. Naturally would be on the bottom. Okay. Alright, so we have a little Mechanica standard gray down the bottom on this area and just slightly up in here. So I don't quite know how I'm feeling about it just yet, but it's starting to come together. Okay, so now you'll use Lead Belcher, Retributor Armor, and Abaddon Black to pick out the last few details on your model. When you've done so, you'll use Agrax Earthshade to apply a grimy shade effect to the gold details. Pay close attention to the instructions as you paint. 1. Paint both storm bolters and their weapon mounts. Make sure you paint the lights above the doors at either end of the containers as well. 2. Paint the access panel and skulls. Thin your paint so that it is roughly 4 parts paint to 1 part water. This will ensure it will flow into the recesses. Okay. Let's get that Lead Belcher. Oh, that was 4 parts paint, 1 water, wasn't it? You know what? I will start out with the storm bolters. What I'm going to do is I'm going to paint the bottom half. That way I can set it down to dry. And when it's dry, I can do the top half. And you just want to get your brush in these little holes just to make sure that you're getting paint in there. I'll just set it down like that to dry. Get the next one. So I'll paint those up, paint the skulls, the lights, and access panels on the shipping container. And then we'll get on to the next part. Okay, this lead belcher details have been done on the container and the storm bolters. Okay, next up we have Retributor armor. It says paint the eagle heads, Aquila symbol, and skulls on the container, crates, and barrels. Refer to the finished gallery at the end of the paint guide for help. Oh, the skulls on the barrels. Okay. I was like, wait a minute, we painted them silver. Okay, so let's get the Retributor armor. Actually, I might have enough room on this palette, it looks like. I think I have all the colors on there now. Okay, I'm sure I'm going to need more paint than that. But I'll deal with that when the time comes. Okay, and this, I am using the starter brush right now, but it's more just to get the paint that's already on it from thinning it off. You might as well use the paint instead of just, washing it off. And as I stated earlier, I know I'm going to get outside the lines with this. And that's going to be touched up, so. So that first coat is going to be a little rough. Okay, and I think that is pretty much it for this brush. Okay. Alright, so I'm going to finish those up. Then I will get the skulls, touch up the Myraid blue, and come back for the next step. Okay, I've applied the gold to the ammo crates, as well as the Promethean barrels. And I did go back around with Myraid blue and Abaddon black, respectively, to clean up around the edges of that gold, because that's I'm not going to do that without making a mess. So, all right. Next, we have, says now with the base coat supplied, you will go back and pick out some of the details on the Stormbolter with Abaddon black before applying shade paints to the areas you've just painted with Retributor armor. Make sure the base coats have dried before applying any shade paint. And we have the Abaddon black. Carefully paint the Stormbolter's weapon casing. Make sure you avoid the recessed barrels, grips, and box of the magazine. Now, let's see here. Looks like, okay, that casing doesn't go up near the barrels. Okay, so let's get, oh, nope, that's from the other container. Okay, now I got to mix up some Abaddon black here. The old palette back out. Okay. And we don't need a whole lot. I think just the standard 3 paint to 1 water will do for this. We're not exactly doing a large surface area. Okay, there we go. It's thinned out. Okay, and yeah, I'm gonna stick with a detail brush here. I mean, I probably could do it with a normal size brush, but I don't want to risk getting any on the silver parts. Mainly because I don't want to go back and have to touch that up. So I'm starting with a coat here along the edge of the casing. And this is actually going on pretty smooth. It's not looking all watered down like black over Lead Belcher usually does. Yeah, a little bit. Probably because it dried a lot longer. Because normally I'm going right from Lead Belcher to black. Unless we have quite a few steps in between. And if I get a little on the casing on the bottom there, I'm not too worried about that. But the top, I want to get pretty good. Yeah, just like that. And then for the side, you can just go. You gotta worry about being too neat. Here, you want to be careful not to get to that middle piece there that runs between the two barrels. And then on the front here, you can barely see the division. Just like that. Okay, so I'll go ahead and get these finished up. And then we'll come back to do the shading. Look at these Stormbolter casings. They've been painted red and black, and I'm pretty happy with how they came out. Looks pretty good. Those are going to, of course, go into the turrets here, the container. Like that. And they can rotate. Okay. So that part is, well, not quite. Okay, now we have Agrax Earthshade. Apply all over shade of Agrax Earthshade to the gold eagle heads. This should give them a dirty, worn appearance. Do likewise with other gold details, such as the Aquilus and skull symbols, and the ammunition crates and Prometheum barrels. Now, I have to back up just a little bit here, because I didn't do the crates in the earlier step, because I wanted to get those gold eagles painted first. So I'm going to go back. I'm going to do the recesses on the crate here. And then I'll go back and do all the eagles and skulls. Now, with the container, I was a little disappointed because the lines weren't consistent. I had some nice fine lines and some real thick lines. So with this, to try and keep them somewhat uniform, I'm using the smaller brush, and that's not working too great. I think I might need to actually go down to a smaller brush. Because with something that small, I want a nice thin line. But this one, since someone was knocking on my door. It's my neighbor letting me know I got a package that they just left at the door. So yeah, so this one's going to be a little off. See how thick it's getting. Let me say the next one and the rest of them, definitely going to use a smaller brush. And I'll just say that this this crate got a little extra dirt and grime on it. Ooh, that hand got a little shaky there. All right, I'll just finish up the top of this one, and then I'll do the other ones with the fine brush. Let's see how that looks. See, I got a nice thin line there. And there. But I can't get it consistent. Yeah, I want to forget to go around the little segments here. I see the way I've always handled shading is I would just do it all over it, as we will be doing on the eagles and skulls. But I've never done it like this, where you're just going in the recesses. And it is interesting. Definitely a technique I need to work on. But I'm sure we'll be doing plenty more of it, so I will have that opportunity. Oops. All right. That don't look too horrible. But like I said, I'm going to go ahead and do the rest of those, and I'll be right back. Okay, final look here. The ammo containers have been shaded. It's kind of hard to pick that up on camera. There's the one I went too heavy on. But I think the Prometheum barrels came out looking really good. And of course, got the eagle heads on the container. One piece of advice I would give is when you're doing something like that eagle head that meets another piece, make sure you get a good amount where it meets there. Not only would that area be shaded naturally, but it'll also cover up if you didn't get the paint perfectly. Got a little bit on the other, like on the containers. Even though I cleaned it up, there are still some spots where I got like maybe a little bit of gold there that I didn't quite cover up. So when I went and with the shade all around it, it just covered up that and made a nice transition. So that is it for the painting for this week. I'm going to go ahead and set up for the playthrough, and I'll be back for that. And now it is time for this week's playthrough. We have playthrough 17, Secure the Dropsite. It says the battle for Megaria's industrial facilities have spilled out across the moon's barren surface. Space Marine reinforcements thunder towards the surface, guided by landing beacons placed by their scouting team. Librarian in Phobos armor. As a member of the Ultramarines Vanguard, this librarian is tasked with making and securing a safe landing zone for his battle brothers. Mission briefing. Necrons have compromised one of the Ultramarines' landing sites and are preparing to ambush the incoming Space Marine transport. The Primaris Librarian must drive the Necrons back and deactivate the landing beacon before his allies descend into the jaws of the Xenos trap. Necrons set the trap. Necrons have established positions around the landing zone. They must keep the beacon active in order to spring their trap. Space Marines silence the beacon. With the Fox channels disrupted by Necron jamming, the Librarian is unable to warn the fleet above. He must seize and deactivate the beacon to avert disaster. Setup. Lay out your large battle map. Gather your dice, range ruler, and wound markers. Set up the terrain as shown in Placing Terrain. Placing terrain. Place the crates and barrels in positions indicated above. Place the containers in the positions highlighted above. And there's barrels. Okay, set up your models and the objectives as shown. Models must be in unit coherency. All models must be placed within 5 inches of the map edge. Choose who will command the enemy each force. Placement key, we have objective 1 on A. 8 Necron warriors with Gauss flares on B. Flayed ones are in reserve. They do not start on the map. See below were reserves. Librarian and Phobos armor on E. Flayed ones are not set up on the map. Rules and data sheets. This page contains the data sheets for the Librarian in Phobos armor, as well as the rules for the Psychic phase, which are required in this playthrough. We have Librarian in Phobos armor. Data sheet here. He is equipped with the bolt pistol and force sword. This model can attempt to manifest 1 psychic power in your Psychic phase. It knows the Smite psychic power shown below. Other data sheets. You also require data sheets for both Necron Warriors and Flayed ones. The Necron Warrior data sheet can be found in A Playthrough 14. The data sheet for the Flayed ones can be found in A Playthrough 15. Psychic phase. In this phase, models with the Psychic keyword can attempt to manifest psychic powers. Play through the Psychic phase using the How-To Psychic phase. How-To Psychic phase. Select 1 Psyker unit from your army. Psyker units that fell back this turn are not eligible. If you have no Psyker units, the Psychic phase ends. When you have selected an eligible Psyker unit from your army, you can attempt to manifest the psychic power. Select the psychic power that you wish to manifest. To cast the power, you must pass a psychic test. Make a psychic test by rolling 2d6 and comparing the results to the warp charge value of the psychic power. If the result is equal to or greater than the power's warp charge value, the psychic power is successfully manifested. If the result is lower than the psychic power's warp charge value, the psychic power is not manifested. If you roll a double 1 or a double 6 when taking a psychic test, that unit immediately suffers the perils of the warp. See Perils of the Warp. Perils of the Warp. When a psychic unit suffers Perils of the Warp, it suffers D3 mortal wounds. If a psychic unit is destroyed by Perils of the Warp while attempting to manifest a psychic power, the power automatically fails to manifest. If a psychic power is destroyed by If a psyker is destroyed by the Perils of the Warp, then just before removing it from the battlefield, every unit within 6 inches immediately suffers D3 mortal wounds. Mortal wounds. Some weapons and abilities inflict mortal wounds. Each mortal wound inflicts 1 point of damage on the target unit. They are always applied one at a time. No saving throws, not even invulnerable saves, can be made against mortal wounds. Smite. A psychic test of 5+ is required to manifest this power. If manifested, the closest visible enemy within 18 inches suffers D3 mortal wounds. If manifested with a psychic test result of 11+, that unit suffers D6 mortal wounds instead. Space Marines Turn 1. The Librarian must reach the objective. In his path are the Necron warriors. He must draw upon his psychic might and fight his way through them. The primary librarian must be touching the objective at the end of the Necron player's 4th turn in order to win the game. Using the rules reference A playthrough 16 and how to psychic phase instructions, play through the move and psychic phases. No units will be close enough to an enemy to shoot, charge, or fight this turn. 1 move. The Space Marine player may move all eligible units. Play through the movement phase using the how to move and the rules reference. Remember, units that choose to advance cannot shoot this turn unless they have an assault weapon. And for the example, 1 move, the Librarian advances towards the objective marker. Okay, so our Librarian is going to advance. He gets a 2, has a base move of 6, so that gives him an advance of 8 inches. And as soon as I find what I did with my range ruler... Oh, I just had it. I literally just had it. Am I blind and not seeing it? Okay, oh, there it is. Put it on the floor and it just blended in with everything. Okay, so 8 inches. That's going to put him right there. Okay, 2 psychic. Units with the psychic keyword may attempt to manifest powers. Play through the psychic phase using the how to psychic phase instructions. Remember the rules of double 1 or double 6 result in Perils of the Warp. In the example, 2A psychic, the Librarian successfully manifests the Smite psychic power. 2B psychic, 1 Necron warrior is destroyed and removed from play. Okay, so let's see here. Okay, we got a 6, so it did manifest. And for 1 damage. So Remove Necron from the field. K3 shoot. There are no units eligible to shoot in the shooting phase. 4 charge. No units are eligible to charge in the charge phase. 5 fight. No units are eligible to fight in this fight phase. Okay, now, since this is on a turn counter, well, they all are, I'm going to use this die here to represent the Necron's turn. So we're on Necron turn 1. A pack of flayed ones emerge from the extra-dimensional realm to fall upon the librarian. Meanwhile, the Necron warriors advance towards the objective. With the flayed ones providing a welcome distraction, the Necron warriors move to secure the objective. Using the rules reference of A playthrough 16, play through the Necron's turn phase by phase. Note that the Necrons have no psychers, their psychic phase is skipped. Use the playthrough example below as a guide to play through each phase. 1 move. The Necron player may move all eligible units. Play through the movement phase using the how-to move in the rules reference. In the reinforcement step, your flayed ones can be deployed. Refer to the transdimensional location ability on their datasheet in order to deploy them. 1A move. The Necron warriors make a normal move. 1B move. The flayed ones deploy using dimensional translocation. They are deployed more than 9 inches away from the librarian. Okay, and our Necron warriors have a move of 5. So they're going to move up 5 inches. Here. Okay. And okay, 2 shoot. The Necron players may shoot with all eligible units. Play through the shooting phase using the how-to shoot in the rules reference. Remember to check what your Necron warriors are within rapid fire range before rolling the hit. Playthrough example: to shoot, the Necron warriors fire at the librarian. The librarian loses 2 wounds. Okay, so the range is 24, so they got to be within 12 for rapid fire. 1, 2, 3. It looks like 4 are in rapid fire range. So we're going to do their shots first. Okay, now the other 4. Oof. Man, 10 hits. Now the equal strength and toughness, so they need 4 to wound. Okay, so we got 5 wounds. And the Gauss Flare has an armor penetration of 1. So our librarian needs 4 or better to save. Oops. And he looks like he takes 3 wounds. Oh, this might be a quick playthrough. Okay, charge. 3 charge. Play through the charge phase using the how to charge in the rules reference. Units deployed as reinforcements are eligible to charge. 3 charge. The flayed ones attempt to charge the librarian but fail their charging roll. Alright. Oh, I did not place them yet. Oh, skipped a step. Okay, so they gotta be 9 inches away. So let's see here. Go there, there. Now these guys' claws really get in the way. Okay. All right. They only got a 5, so they failed their charge, which is very fortunate because I think that would have ended the game real quick. All right. Fight. Play through the fight phase using the how to fight in the rules reference. They aren't close enough to fight. Okay, Space Marine's turn 2. Shrugging off his wounds, the librarian strides forward, hurling blasts of warp energy at his Necron foes, and tightening the grip on his force sword. The librarian must reach the objective before he is overwhelmed by his Necron assailants. Using the rules reference A playthrough 16 and how to psychic phase instructions, play through the move, psychic, and shoot phases of the Space Marine's turn, using the playthrough examples as a guide as you play through each phase. 1 move. The Space Marine player may move all eligible units. Play through the movement phase using the how-to move in the rules reference. When moving your librarian, remember that your librarian cannot manifest psychic powers if he falls back. 1 move. The librarian makes a normal move, which is 6 inches. So, let's see. So that would put him right about here. And, you know what? Actually, he wants to get to that objective. Okay. So I think his best bet is to go through these flayed ones here. Because they can, if they get to him, they're going to tear him up. Okay. So he's going to attempt to manifest smite. And he does with an 8 for 2 damage. And the flayed ones only have 1 wound, so 2 of them are killed. Okay, in the playthrough example, the librarian manifests a smite power, rolling a double 6. 2B psychic, the librarian immediately suffers parallel warp, and the Space Marine player rolls a D3, and the librarian loses 1 wound. 2C psychic, as the psychic test result was greater than 10, the Necron warriors, who are the nearest target to the enemy unit within 18 inches, suffer D6 mortal wounds. 2D psychic, 4 Necron warriors are destroyed. Okay. Shoot. 3. Shoot. The Space Marine player may shoot with all eligible units. Play through the shooting phase using the how-to shoot and the rules reference. The librarian must be able to see at least 1 model in the enemy unit in order to shoot at it. Playthrough example 3. Shoot. The librarian shoots at the flayed ones with his bolt pistol. 1 flayed one is destroyed. Removing casualties, the Necron player can choose which flayed ones to remove as casualties, even if the librarian cannot see that model. Alright, and that's exactly what he's going to do. He's going to shoot at the flayed ones, and he misses. Alright, so he's just going to... Actually, we got this here. Space Marine turn 2 continued. Reaching the enemy, the Librarian raises his foresword and brings its psychically charged blade down upon his Necron opponents. The Librarian presses forward, continuing his attempts to cut his way through the remaining Necrons and reach the landing beacon. Using the rules reference A playthrough 16 instructions, play through the remainder of the Space Marine's turn. Use the playthrough examples below as a guide as you play through each phase. For charge, eligible Space Marine units may now charge. To play through the charge phase using the how to charge and the rules reference. Remember that you don't need to be able to see the enemy unit in order to charge it. Playthrough example, for charge, the Librarian charges the flayed ones. Okay, and this is going to be a pretty easy charge to make. Okay, gets a 6. Yeah, it's plenty enough. Okay, 5. Fight. All eligible units may now fight. Play through the fight phase using the how to fight in the rules reference. Note that some weapons, including the Librarian's Force Sword, deal multiple points of damage. If a model is destroyed by an attack with such a weapon, any excess damage is lost. A maximum of one enemy model can be destroyed by each attack. A playthrough example, 5A fight, the Librarian attacks the flayed ones, destroying 2 of them. 5B fight, the flayed ones then pile in an attack but fail to inflict any wounds. How to win the game. Keep playing by going back to Necron turn 1 and following the instructions. The Space Marines win if the Librarian is touching the objective marker at the end of Necron's turn 4. Okay. So, Librarian has 4 attack dice for his Force Sword. So he gets 3 hits. Wow. No wounds. Oh, this ain't looking good. Okay, this might be the end of it right here. Okay, the flayed ones are going to pile in and attack back. Ooh. Okay, so those are 2. Okay, 7 hits. Three wounds. 2 saves. Okay, okay, 1 hit, and our guy is dead here. Alright, so that would be the end of the Space Marine turn. Necron turn 2. Alright, these guys are gonna move just enough so that they are in rapid fire range. So he's gonna move here. He'll move here. He will move here. And he'll move up just a little bit. Okay. Yeah. Yep, they're all in rapid fire range. So roll 8 first. Yeah, so that's 7. It's 13. 10. Ooh. I say that was 13. Okay, 4 wounds out of that. And he only makes 1 save. Okay, so the librarian is defeated. The Necrons managed to keep the beacon up and presumably ambush the incoming transport. Okay, so that was playthrough 16 of, no, 17 of Warhammer 40k Imperium. I'll be back next week for the next one. See you then.